Hello, everybody, and welcome to another video. As you all probably know fairly, well who I am. It's Winners here. This is going to be going up on both my channel and the community channel, but if you don't know who I am, my name is Winners. I am what the hell is my title? Like, community director, I guess? Or something to that effect. Yeah, we're here doing a little bit of a podcast just to get you guys kind of, a look on what's going on with the community and kind of give you guys a little bit of transparency and kind of some insights on why we're making some of the decisions that we are. And yeah, just get you guys some time to get to know us as more than just names on a, Discord, and as people. If you're, either you're not in the community and you're getting to know River Valley, or if you're in the community and you just want to know more about what goes on behind the scenes. I'm joined by two very lovely individuals tonight. I've got Lucina Annex here, who is our financial director, kind of our statistics person. Actually, what the fuck am I doing? You can introduce yourself. I'm sorry.
You're good. I am, what am I doing again? I look at graphs.
Statistics, no. Finances, general beta tester for bullshittery. I don't know.
That's pretty much it. I sit here and say, holy crap, this costs a lot of money. Anyway.
And then we've got Phoenix here, whose name keeps changing, and I'm not really sure what she wants to go by.
Go by what I've always been known by. Just, I've changed it now to Pete Out Shaw, just to make it easier. But yeah, I am the community relations director. I'm mostly on the civ side of things when it comes to that position. I make sure that things that are being said by civs are being heard, and trying to make sure that civs aren't getting left behind and being totally transparent.
Yeah, so she's kind of a combination of, I think when I initially asked you about the role, what did I call a glorified guidance counselor, maybe?
I think so. Something to that nature.
Yeah, so basically, she's on a community level, kind of a buffer or whatever, to basically boil down what we might get bogged down by on the community management level of things. Because sometimes, like, let's face it, like, ideas can be good and they can get lost just because if you get too far into the weeds of logistically what works and not, and you get so, like I say, lost in the sauce of, like, how is everything going to work or whatever, like, logistically, you can tend to shoot down good ideas. She's usually the person we send to go and basically collect the ideas, check and see if they're stupid or not, and kind of pass everything along and make sure that everybody kind of has a seat at the table, everybody has a voice, without it being to the point where decisions can't get made because we're stuck in gridlock like Congress. So yeah, we just wanted to come to you guys because there's a lot going on with River Valley right now. For the record, you guys feel free to interject at any point or whatever. I'm going to put out prompting questions, obviously, but if something comes to mind, and I don't know what you guys have for time, but you're not necessarily, strapped to one subject and like glue, you can go off whatever you need to. I'll obviously edit out anything that goes too far, but I don't expect anybody to be talking about their, the last shit they took or anything. But that being said, I kind of wanted to go through, like, a little bit of background about each of ourselves, and we kind of have already done that. I'll just start with some, like, other stuff in that similar vein that I want to go over of, like, just kind of where we're all coming from. I'm coming from... Lord, so where do I start? So I started on console. Yes, I was one of those kids. I think I've literally pretty much tasted everything at this point. I started on console with a couple of friends, in those, like, GTA Online sessions where they've, set up the cars in one place or whatever and everything. Eventually got myself a little bit of a gaming laptop, moved on to GTA 4 RP, did New York type police roleplay for a while. I think I got to, like, what? Colonel? No, not Commander? Commander in the Sheriff's Department in that community? Did that for a while. Eventually stumbled, landed upon a YouTube video for a community called San Andreas Finest. Saw their fire department, thought that was dope. Their fire department was closed. went and joined their civilian department, and that was kind of my introduction to roleplay. I think it kind of molds the way that I look at roleplay often because I come from the perspective of being a civ first, so I might look at different things differently from somebody who has the LEO perspective. Effectively, I've gone into the metaphorical gas station and just dumped every flavor of slushy into the cup, and that's pretty much my experience with FiveM in a nutshell. So, jumping over to Annex, I guess we'll start. Kind of what is your roleplay experience, or what's your background been like with that? If you're still there, unless you're chasing after the dog.
Oh, sorry.
You're good. Speaking of which.
I'll be right back. Shaw, why don't you take this over?
Alright, kicking it down to Shaw.
Yeah, so when I was first getting into or coming across the whole like GTRP stuff, it was mostly like the typical thing of on YouTube looking around, and I happened to stumble upon Ocean's videos from SAF. So I think I spent I'm gonna say like probably a couple months watching his content, and I was like, everything, it seemed like real fascinating and interesting, and just like through the eyes of like the fire department side of things, but also getting to see like the civilian side as well, and then like the interactions that they would have on the LEO portion. So over time, like I thought about it, and then one night I sat down, filled out the application for SAF, and I got accepted. And this this is like the important reminder is that if you're new to RP by any means, like I've been in your shoes and I totally know where you're coming from. It can be scary, intimidating sometimes, and you can just feel like a fish out of water. But like once you start, it's kind of like it's fun. But yeah, like that's my experience started there, and I spent around a year, or well, a year and probably like 2 or 3 months within SAF, and I mostly specialized in the civilian department. I did a bunch of storylines. I had like 2 characters at most that I ping ponged between and enjoy the storylines and the creativity that I was able to do. So yeah.
Cool beans. And I think Annex is sliding back in on perfect timing, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, general roleplay background, I'll let Shazam.
Well, started in... crap.
Did you start in Arma?
No, I started in Gmod back in
Sorry.
2014.
I kind of left that part because I generally chucked it into the mental waste bin, but yeah, I guess I did start in Gears Mod. Hey, it was here saying.
I started in Gary's Mod 2014, worked for, or I say worked for a server because holy shit, if you were staff, it sucked. Worked for the virtual sweatshop that was that community. And if you consider that staff training of a 14-year-old to deal with beatings that where you got nothing but berated by people, and then spent years working your way up around that, about a year and a half there, moved on to making my own communities a couple times, being roped into friends owning started in Halo RP, moved on to Star Wars RP with Clone Wars. You can probably find a video of me somewhere sitting on the internet, but I'll keep that out of there. On a couple different fairly large Gmod YouTubers at the time, but because we were quite popular, worked my way up on my first server to about a head admin. So basically was there long enough to try to help people and do what I can. Didn't work because leadership was a mess. Moved on to, after Gmod, moved to Arma, where I spent a good few years in unit leadership as second, third, and command. once again from the Gmod experience, kind of dealt with that. Got a few things on my channel from back in that day still, which is not great, but still enjoying Arma at the time. Still Halo, but still Arma 3. From there, moved on through D&D. Through my days, even back as far as Gmod, was role playing in D&D. So doing stuff like that, GMing for fuck, that's almost a decade if you think about it. Yikes. Before finally just kind of ending up in FiveM, watching YouTube, somehow started watching YouTubers from SAF, ended up through SAF, and ended up a lieutenant there in their fire department till just recently. Well, a few months ago now, but you know. So yeah, it's been a while. SAF was my first FiveM community, and I think River Valley was technically my second if you get, or third.
I always forget that.
But I've been role playing for a long time now.
Yeah, and kind of like I was, and this is actually a beautiful illustration of why I brought this up. The reason I brought this up was actually just to show like how there can be a diverse perspective, like wide range of perspectives on roleplay and experience with roleplay, because like this is your second FiveM community. This is probably, as far as just GTRP using it as blanket statement or whatever, so it is probably like, Lord, I don't know, my fourth, fifth. And then for Shaw Liz, it's like your third, second?
GTRP was, yeah, this is like my second community.
Yeah. So, one of the goals we set out with River Valley was, and one of the things I think makes River Valley fairly unique, it's just something that's very hard to market and put out, and that's kind of why we're doing this right now, is that I think, and we can pick this out as we go along, but one of, like, I know my experience with FiveM roleplay is, as I get older, I've always wished that it's like, you want people who are, you know, adults, and that, I mean, like, 18 plus, ideally, or whatever, running a community. You want people who have, quite frankly, been run through the ringer with FiveM, you know, at least a time or two, know how it works, and generally speaking, knows how they want to be treated so that they can run a community in, you know, kind of a similar manner. I've been doing this, there's a few folks who couldn't make it tonight that wanted to be here, among them, Nate, the development director, and Nate McKee, and then, I believe he's going by O'Connor, but you all will often hear us refer to, Wyatt, within the community. It was the sheriff who actually just, stepped down, just taking some time to do some focus on life. I don't think you'll leave if I say this, right? He's going off to the Marines, starting boot camp soon, so he's stepping down from sheriff, but he'll be coming back to PD once he, finishes up with that, or if when he has time. It's actually kind of a good little, it's a very good, plug, actually, just about the fact that we, like, if you're gonna be honest with us, whatever, it's like, we understand that you guys are, like, you are adults. You're adults, a lot of you, some of you maybe not, but all of you respectively have, you know, responsibilities, time commitments, different things that you have to worry about. Now, obviously, we're gonna always have some activity requirements, but generally speaking, we want this to overarching be a community that's based around the concept of you're a human being first, with like family and commitments and so forth and so on. Do what you can, and just let us know, has always kind of been my motto. It's like, as long as you let us know, we're cool. Now, you know, if it gets to the point where it's like we're 6 months, 12 months deep into this stuff and you've not shown up once, that's a little bit of a different story. But generally speaking, as long as you don't like hold rank, not that big of a deal. You know, we're pretty cool about it. But yeah, I mean, there's some nights where, you know, running a FiveM community can become a little bit challenging. One of the things that, you mentioned Annex or whatever, it's like you were talking about Gary's Mod RP. Like, just to go into his story, I remember just thinking about, like, staffing on Gary's Mod or doing admin stuff on Gary's Mod. I got numb flashbacks to my Gary's Mod days a couple weeks ago in River Valley because we had that guy join who, stole that car, was running around doing a bunch of stuff, didn't know what he was doing, seemed genuinely confused, and I had to literally, like, teleport out of AOP, and I was, like, thinking to myself, I was like, you know what? I should just teleport people out of AOP from now on, just to deal with, like, admin stuff, and I was like, oh god, we're having admin sits effectively. Like, what has you guys been like? What has your experience been like being staff for this community? And like, and I guess I'll just go, like I said, go down the list or whatever. It's like I'll start with Annex, but generally speaking, what has your experience been? Has it been pleasant? Has it been challenging? Without, you can talk about like subjects. I don't care if you name drop like randos, but as far as like actual members, like just omit or change names. But just generally speaking, like, what's been the highs and the lows for you guys? Like
Honest answer?
yeah, definitely. 100. I'll cut out
Headache?
whatever. If anything needs to be redacted, it will be. For the record, speak freely, please.
A headache. We'll leave it simply as a headache, but it can be enjoyable at times. But it's a lot of work. Truthfully told, every time you may not see a staff member on, but that doesn't mean they're not doing anything for the community. Is where it comes from. There's actually a lot of stuff that goes down behind the scenes that no one on server ever really notices. But yeah, it can get to be a headache sometimes.
Yeah, like, I'm in my early 20s and I have a bit of free time, but it gets challenging at times trying to juggle everything. But it's like when you guys wonder what we're doing or whatever, what's going on behind the scenes, it's like half the time I'm trying to cover for Nate, who's, got a full-time job or whatever. And I'll be tinkering around on here, like, doing stuff for development in the background. Phoenix, kind of, what is your, Shaw, what has been your experience or whatever, and like, what would you say like the highs and lows have been for you?
I would say that the highs have been thus far being in just a general, like, healthier and more established roleplay atmosphere. And I mean, that's been the highs, and then there's been like plenty of others. I just think, like, for me, they've just been a little bit smaller. So in terms of just seeing, like, River Valley being different with having like different MLOs, and like having a different selection for, Civ add-on cars and clothing and stuff like that. Like, those are just like the small highs because it's nice to see like different things. I would say that like the low points of it is just like trying to get everything together to where it can run smoothly, and trying to also let other members, across the board and whatnot, to let them know that like we're not just like here in these positions and like non-existent. Like, we're here and we've got things going on behind the scenes that may take away from our patrol time, but we try to make them up, like elsewhere. And then, nights that we can make it on, we try to make sure that we give interesting scenes or have some sort of interaction. So, yeah, overall, I mean, the highs and lows, I think, are just always going to come and go. I mean, it'd be nice to have more highs than lows, but, that's kind of a 50-50 roll of the dice. But yeah, I think just overall, can't really complain thus far.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a challenge, but it's been a pursuit worth chasing, I think, thus far, just to create something that's worthwhile for people to actually participate in, and just like I said, giving people an alternative. Because it's like, there's a lot of communities where people aren't very self-aware about. Just like some of the things we talked about are just like, being honest about like activity or whatever, and just like expectations. One of the most frustrating things I think has to be getting the remark of is like we're overdoing it, like as far as the realism thing has been, because that's been like one of the big things lately. We've all experienced realism on steroids. Like, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Like, we've all, like, we've all been in communities where, I'm not gonna name names, those of you who are watching this on my channel, if it goes on my channel, you know what communities I'm in reference to, but we've all been, through the ringer of having to do government forms every 4 months or what have you, and different things. Like, realism just being pushed well past its point for a video game. But, being told that trying to do in your pursuit to do very simple stuff just to make the community function, it's like being told it's like you're overdoing the realism. Effectively, we try to, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, guys, but we try to walk that fine line of, hey, I like to look at it, and this is going to sound weird coming out of my mouth, I'm sure, because I'm not the D&D nerd of the group, but I kind of look at it more like GMing lately than I do anything else, and it's, again, a weird analogy, tastes weird in my mouth. Yeah, but generally speaking,
You lost me on that one.
Like, it's like, I look at it like Dungeons and Dragons in a lot of ways, or like, being a dungeon master. I'm not sure if that's accurate current terminology, but basically, of just like looking at the overall story, and we want to have things be story oriented, but then we're also trying to, like I said, as the director, I kind of sit in that type of role where I'm trying to figure out how to get quote unquote everybody to play nice. And in other words, saying as balancing game mechanics so that no one department has all of the power or pull in RP. That everybody has dynamic interaction with everybody. One of the things we sought out to do with that was, so River Valley is not a brand spanking new community. It's one we've had a test run with before and put on pause, and we're now coming back to. But one thing that's been consistent with River Valley has always been holding Leo accountable. Usually, if it's good natured or whatever, like, the quote unquote bad cop RP. Excuse me. We'll play along with it, up to a point, and we'll go and we'll handle it like a real, like a real state would. And, the Department of Public Safety or the Department of Law Enforcement, what have you, would, and back in the day it was FDLE, or excuse me, SDLE, I think is what we were calling it. That's a parody of FDLE, but, we'll come and knock on your door and be like, hey bud, what the hell are you doing? And that's kind of a check and balance that we've always had. It was like, Leo can't just run ragged and do whatever they want. And, that's always kind of been enforced with judicial to a degree. And by the same token or whatever, it's like we've always tried to balance the scales by, telling citizens like, hey, you can't overwhelm little active Leo. You can't, you have to give them something. You can't, you don't have to cater to them, but go out into the world and actually do things and interact with different people. Because it gives, law enforcement, first responders, whatever, even if it's just so much as laughing it up with you at the gas station, it gives them a chance to interact with you. Generally, with judicial, annex, do you want to just talk about, like, basically, like, your current role with judicial and what you hope the future holds with that?
Just right now, I'm a judge. That's kind of where it sits. Is the role as judicial should be to help. Well, realistically, it should be more powerful than most things. If you get technical with it, but the role of judicial should be there to not only create a check and balance on what's going on with policing, so that things are getting actually done right, and there's an emphasis on good role play with it. And I stress not to use realism very often, but there's not just a bunch of BS being thrown that in reality no lawyer is going to take, or I should say no district attorney will want, because it's a district attorney wants to actually win a case. Same with my position as a judge is it helps me. We can create rulings based on the laws we have, and we have a great set of comprehensive laws. In reality, like what we got is actually really good. What it actually lets me also do as we can also take into account what the rulings on these, and we can actually set something up hopefully in the long run to allow for a more dynamic way the law's going to work. What precedent a judge can set that other judges can either overturn or run with, as long as it doesn't surpass what the U.S. Supreme Court said, because I think that we're fairly certain where those are going to actually end up.
Yeah, we try to keep constitutional supremacy in play as much as we can. Like, if you're going and finding every Supreme Court ruling about what you can do with a pig on a Tuesday, this community management, well, really, it'd probably fall under more so the civic director purview, but somebody's gonna step in and say, okay, bud, you're reaching, you're taking it too far. If it's being abused for the sake of, like, just trying to win, but general, like, 8th grade constitutional values and everything in, somewhat in between, is pretty much something we try to uphold here. Because there's always that hemming and hawing of, it's like, well, what do we allow with San Andreas? San Andreas and lore is a state within the United States. Even if we were going to make this, like, river state, it would still be an American community or whatever. Our lore is going to be American to a degree because we're, a bunch of Americans, frankly. I don't think anybody wants checkered police cars. I'd be down to give it a try, though. But,
No.
Just not allowed.
No.
Actually, scratch that. I did try, but, that didn't last very long. They weren't British, though. They were just the newer Chicago liveries. Anyways.
Extra not allowed.
As far as judicial is concerned, Shaw, do you have anything to piggyback off of with that?
Not really. I mean, just getting I won't lie, like, back in SAF, I kind of was, like, curious about the, like, judicial side of things, but I didn't at the time have, like, the chance or the time to put aside to, kind of become familiar with SAF's laws, because really, in reality, like, I don't know, to me, like, SAF had, like, 3 law books, and it was just, like, I don't know, it was like a whole bunch at the time to have to go over to figure out, learn, not, like, in and out, but proficiently enough to then be able to be like, okay, I can take, like, the bar exam thing that they had, and then, be, like, a lawyer and actually be proficient at it. So, having, like, the chance to come, like, here in River Valley and do it just, like, through the one trial thing that we've done thus far with, like, a simple, straightforward, like, penal code and, like, everything else, and just, being nitpicky with stuff, like, I've enjoyed it so far. And, like, I would love, like, for other people to give it a try to see if it, would be their cup of tea or not. And Yeah, it's something different outside of like the Civ stuff I've done. It's something that I'm getting to dip my toes into, and it's like I don't know, how would you say? I guess it's like a different. You're still dealing with Civ things, but from a district attorney Civ side, you're also like learning how the LEO departments work and how each officer goes up like approaching scenes, and you kind of like learn, okay, well, if this officer's not going to do this each time at the scene, or an officer's going to put this in the report, then I have to like strategically think around, like to get the results or try to push for the results that I want to come out of it. But then, and ultimately having the say of like yes or no. But it's like, it's a fun, like little mind game. So it's like, if you like having puzzles put before you and, having like laws and other things to be able to kind of play with this like pieces of the puzzle, then it can become like a fun process and not too dreary, not too boring.
Yeah, so basically, what I've tried to do with helping get judicial set up is I'm trying to take, and they aren't the first ones to do this, however, I was in communities that were doing this long before SAF was, really, I think. But I'm trying to take the mold of what we had and make like basically what was in SAF but oversimplified. Because we just frankly don't have the size to deal with it on that scale. But even more so, I just feel like getting in too far into the weeds or making it too difficult, it kind of sucks the fun out of it. I like letting people represent themselves rather than having this big old bar exam, because at the end of the day, anybody can represent themselves for the most part, like as far as our legal system is concerned. If somebody wants to go out and get a goofy lawyer, and their lawyer is just straight up just like a clown, they're more than entitled to do that, as long as they don't like, and we have thankfully from the, last Civ director, we have a penal code or whatever that allows us to deal with like, those types of like misconduct or whatever, if it were to come up. So that's good. I think it expands the tent and to make roleplay a little bit more dynamic, because ultimately what I'm chasing after, now this is on both the Leo end and the Civ end too, but as I can enforce it or encourage it a lot better on the Civ end, is just that more like, I don't know, quality of life roleplay where people actually feel like they actually start to look at their characters like, oh wow, my character is an actual person that has feelings and thoughts and rights and so forth and so on. It's like, maybe not to contest every little thing that comes their way, but if something has a big enough ripple effect on the character's life, and even if they just want to manipulate things or move it around so where that character can breathe a little bit better or deal with things a little bit better. Like, it's like, hey, this charge is lingering around on my record and I want to use this character for my new, my next Leo job, but they have a felony on their record. If it's something non-violent and stupid enough that they actually have a means to go and get it knocked off, after a certain point, all the better, and just improve quality. Quite frankly, a lot of, I think, if you want a good shining example of government roleplay, I guess we'll call it, just use a big blanket, because that's something else we can get into, but I'm gonna try and keep stuff on the rails here, because like I said, I don't know if you guys are pressed for time. But if you want a good example of like judicial balanced with, or just government roleplay generally balanced with, what am I trying to say? Quality RP, I guess, or just like, getting people, like having it be interactive. NoPixel is a pretty good place to look at for that. Like, you can have a serious framework and still have fun. Like, if you ever watch a NoPixel court session, it's an absolute clown show to a degree, but it's because people are in there playing their characters and they're having a good time. but the verdicts are still being looked at seriously. The lawyers are arguing to the best of their ability, and everything's being handled. I really, it's a shame because I'm somebody who, if you say something to me like this or whatever, it's like I'll sit and I'll stew on it for a while or whatever. And this kind of goes back to the video you sent me earlier, Shaw. It's like, you can't go into an argument looking to win. You have to go into an argument looking at the other side. And it's like, all of these complaints about judicial and everything, I just wish I had gotten the chance to look at it differently or actually have conversation with a few people, because, at the end of the day, I don't think we made it, maybe we didn't make it clear enough, but, like, we're not expecting people to be strict and rigid and, oh, you have to be prim and proper. It's like, have fun with it. But these frameworks exist for a purpose and they do things. They're, they have mechanisms, but, kind of have fun with it. And, that's actually a pretty good segue to my next thing is, like, what's the most enjoyable scene that you've gotten to do or witness or be around, or even heard about if you haven't been around with River Valley? I'll start with you, Anix. Like, what's the most fun thing you've done or been a part of lately?
I like the smaller stuff, to be honest. I guess the one that was nice is just, having my character pop off, or having someone report them for a gunshot when really reality their bike just popped off or had just
Backfired it.
Like backfired wrong for a couple times while she was trying to work on it, and then having y'all all show up with guns only to be like, what, there's no shooting?
I just thought about it. I could edit that over as you're saying that. Anyways, stuff for post. Yeah, I like stuff like that. I like people who mix stuff up because it keeps Leo guessing or whatever.
Frankly speaking, I don't like gunshots and fighting and stuff like that. Overall, my more favorite scenes have been like small medical scenes or small scenes where they, as role playing on EMS side or fire side, it's things that are the smaller things that still make me have to think. It confuse the hell out of me of how I'm going to get resources in a certain place in a certain way. That's what been the most fun kind of scenes for me. And yeah, I occasionally enjoy the bigger scenes, but the problem with bigger scenes is it tends to be a lot of people doing the same thing, and I like to see more variety in what's showing up.
I think for me, the first fun one was that night outside I think it was outside of the biker bar in Sandy that you did the drive-by. I was just, standing out there minding my own business, double checking something, and the next thing I know is I hear shots being popped off, and one basically flying into the sign next to my character, and I don't know, that was kind of funny too, because in that moment I went full character, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't want to get shot. So I was running around and then go trying to get into the bar, and then Lucy's character was there who are you? And it was a great whole thing. And then when the two individuals who were playing Leo came in, and they were asking if I saw anything, that was the point where I was just I'm gonna have fun with those, because I'm technically, yeah, from my OOC perspective I did, but I'm gonna play it in character. And then the whole thing about, my character dropping her phone and all of that. So that one was fun. It was the first, involvement in a scene since, the break from SAF to then joining here in River Valley. In terms of, hearing about other scenes happening, other interesting ones, I'm aware of some of the, medical calls that Lucy did. And they seemed like they were kind of fun and unique and different. I think what Lucy did one with what was it, a college student or something?
Maybe. Don't remember what.
The one that was high as a kite.
Oh yeah, though. I did one where it was a college student basically being prescribed some medication that is way too strong and caused way too much problems. So it fixed the anxiety, but made them quite interesting to deal with.
I believe what Cat Williams would call hi, 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 hi,
Pretty much.
But yeah, hearing like scenes like that, and I know like Elio's gotten their fair share of different scenes and stuff. So like I can't wait for more like in-depth scenes to happen and more involvement from like the FD and EMS side of things as well.
Yeah, so my favorite from the Leo perspective was, and I don't care about statistics necessarily. I care that people are getting to see and enjoy something or whatever when I put it on my channel. But it really hurt because of that it didn't have the reach that I want this video, because it was a very good scene and a good example of good roleplay. Of how to balance creativity with the shoot 'em up and keeping Leo entertained. I want to say it was like Nate and Wyatt, Nate and O'Connor ran over to the Ace liquor store and were basically like on some sort of, I don't even know what type of drugs they took. They tasted the rainbow and basically were running around talking about the aliens are coming and like shooting at apes that I couldn't see. And so they're shooting up and setting up, the whole ruckus. They managed to get away, go over to the hotel, and then when we pulled up, it was like, what do you mean? We haven't done anything like this. But it was a confusion and not a trying to get out of something. And the more we dug, the more evidence we realized and found that in the end, we asked them, it's like, are you on any prescriptions or anything? It's like, I took some Tylenol last night. Why do you ask? Where'd you buy that Tylenol from? Ace Liquor. Winner, chicken dinner, we got a connection. And lo and behold, their Tylenol had been opened and, played with. And that was pretty much what had happened. And it left us scratching our heads going, is this really your fault? Not really. And we both ended up basically giving them both a notice to appear in court, and that was about the end of that. But the amount of thought and time and effort that had to be put into that was equal character development and fun shoot 'em up. I mean, that was just phenomenal Civ roleplay or whatever. It was honestly exemplary in my mind. And what even goes a step further is, it's so realistic because, I can't remember the year, but a long time ago, I want to say it might have been 03. Anix, you're nerdy enough to where you might know what I'm talking about, but you remember, does anybody who doesn't live in Illinois ever heard about the Tylenol murders?
Mm-mm.
No, because also I was 4 years old.
Valid. The only reason it keeps coming up every, so many years here is because, well, it happened here, but basically, a guy went around and spiked a bunch of Tylenol and put it back on the shelves at different, Walgreens, CVS, wherever, throughout, Chicagoland, I want to say. Maybe it was, the northwest suburbs. But, yeah, killed a bunch of people.
Chicago's safe.
What'd you say?
I said, they say Chicago. You say Chicago is safe.
I don't even know if that was Chicago. I think it might have been the suburbs, but it wasn't a shooting, at least. But we're not going to talk about the Brown's chicken murders. Yeah, so, it's stuff that's actually happened, and neither of them, I'm willing to bet money, especially if you two haven't, neither of them had ever heard of anything like that. It was just something that they came up with on the fly, and honestly, I thought that was pretty mint roleplay. I really had to give them big ups on that.
Fair.
I'm just looking at the agenda, seeing if there's anything that I missed. Did I say agenda like Mr. Krabs style? What do you do with a drunken Annex? Sorry.
Keep her away from her wallet?
Bingo. We kind of touched on scenes we hope for the future. Yeah, so I think we've pretty
I
much.
want to do more fire roleplay.
Yeah, same.
I want to go back.
That's actually a good segue. Fire department. We hear that you all have been asking for it. I mean, I don't know. It feels like enthusiasm just dropped like a rock. I don't know if it actually did or not. But I didn't really put out an a ping announcement. But you know, I generally, if you're interested in doing fire role play, message me. If you're in the community, that is, message me. If you are if you're interested in like fire EMS or whatever, please reach out because that's something that's gonna be coming pretty soon. Another thing is the whole reason we did this tonight. We've completely forgotten the point of this little shindig. We're doing the whitelisting thing, or we're whitelisting, and I think we kind of touched on some of the why at the beginning. We've had a lot of people come in and I don't mind this personally, but we had some lower ranking COC that got chuffed with it, and you know, we've had randoms come in and cause problems. And we've had people, generally speaking, there seems to be a disconnect when people join the server, because we've been a public server, if you're unaware, we've been a public server since we opened back up River Valley for the second go around this year. And
before.
Oh yeah, actually, and before. And so, you know, but people would seemingly join. Think that, you know, public server, I click a few buttons, I get some rolls, wherever I'm good to go, I hop on and can play, and that was true. But some stuff was locked behind certain things, certain ranks, or whatever. You had to, you know, apply to actually be a part of the department and participate with, get trained on, so forth and so on. That seemed to be a bit of a turnoff for a lot of people. And more than just that being a turnoff for a lot of people, though, we realized that we were having maybe whitelisted standards on, you know, a public server. And maybe we started to realize or think about it and wonder if that was a bit of an unrealistic expectation. I mean, I don't know. I think we all had good intentions or whatever, and I know with the stuff I had oversight of, I tried to make it fairly simple to get involved with if it was your, you know, thing. But at the end of the day, we had to, like... You want people who roleplay out first responder, emergency services, whatever, to somewhat know what they're doing and how to deal with situations. And if you're having civs creating complex scenes, that can leave some people, even the, you know, best of us, scratching our heads. Not having a lack of training kind of wasn't really gonna fix anything. So, I don't know, I guess would it be safe to say that we kind of just doubled down on wanting to double down on training and kind of just standards like that?
Yeah, I guess. From wanting to move towards a way that we can keep our standards higher.
Yeah.
We want to create a place that actually allows for a lot better roleplay than than what people probably expect of the constant shoot 'em up. Which I think it's fair to say, I think the idea is to move towards a way to increase our standards while still increasing quality of roleplay. Not everything's going to be the most super realistic overall, but we want to have some level of quality of roleplay where cops know what they should be kind of thinking like. Civs know what they should be thinking like and what they should try to avoid if they can help it. And everyone else can kind of all have that same mentality of, we want to create fun storylines, we want to create fun roleplay scenarios. We still want to have, you know, we don't want someone just constantly shooting each other for no reason.
Also, that was my bad. I muted the recording. I didn't mute Discord. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we chose to go whitelisting because we had those double standards of being public, but asking rules and kind of like the way things were really put up was almost to the whitelist standard. And, we all kind of like how to vote, had our input on, about going whitelisting. And we understood, or we pretty much all understood that like it's not gonna stop our headaches from happening and having to deal with things, but we're just like hoping to cut it down some at least to make it maybe more manageable than what it would be like if we stayed public and everything. So yeah, just hopefully being whitelist and having people like trained, we're just hoping that it will kind of like keep to the quality of RP that we've been wanting to market for. And at the same time, by us doing all of that, it also is offering the civilians, the LEO, the EMS, the FD, it's all like cohesively letting everybody enjoy good quality roleplay with people that, still have the freedom to do whatever they want and within the respected bounds, but being able to have engaging scenes, have engaging talks, create a gang, create a mafia, do street racing, sell drugs, do whatever to just like build creative storylines and not have like restrictions. And to just well, I assume most of your member base knows, like, for us being V menu, it's not something like, it's not something that for some people maybe they're drawn to, because some people may like the whole thing of like the QB core side of things, of having interactive jobs, but we kind of like don't want the grindy part of RP, or we like right now we're not wanting to have to structure like around that. We're wanting to be able, for people to get on when they want to and not be set to like standards of, hey, this is locked behind something until you get to like,
I'm not trying to deal with having my police chief getting shot over a turbo in her car or something.
some no pixel stuff. Yeah, exactly. So, for us being V menu, we're kind of like eliminating that. And it's more of just a place for people's creativity to kind of just, again, within the appropriate bounds, but people's creativity can run as far and wide as they want it to. And, we're here to provide resources no matter, what they are, like whether they're MLOs, houses, clothing, cars, and, scripts and what have you. Like, that's, like our goal to provide that for them to enjoy. So, yeah, like, overall, like meshing all that together and kind of having a more solid base being put in place with whitelisting, and then having trainings and stuff like that, it's ensuring that everybody can have a good like quality experience, and everybody is just free to do what they want and have fun, like have character friendships and like business, what would you call a business friendship, a business ship, like whatever. So
Probably, if you're having friendships, you'd have be in the business, it would be colleagues.
Yeah, so I think we've pretty much covered everything. If not, I'll throw anything else in the end of just like a side effects may include on a commercial for a drug. But effectively, I think we've covered everything that we can.
Yeah.
I want to thank both of you guys for hanging out with me tonight, and I want to thank you guys for watching that are hanging out with me, or us. And let me know in the comments, or let us know in the comments. I'm so used to talking about all of this in the first person. Let us know in the comments if this is something you guys enjoy, because if so, then we'll keep doing it. But with that being said, winners,
Annex,
Phoenix or Shaw,
whichever you prefer, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Question mark? To be determined. Bye.